This is Randall Root. In this video we'll be taking a look at how you would access the reporting server web service from a VB or C# application. Microsoft has published information, but some of it's quite confusing. One of the papers that you'll find if you do a search on Google is this one here, which talks about accessing the reporting server web service. Unfortunately, it's set up for the older 2000 still. For the most part, things apply. The deal is that you'd make a new project. You would then go ahead and make a web reference. And the web reference would point to your web service. The web service is accessed with the report server virtual directory. And then there should be a report service ASMX page. You include the WSDL declaration, and you should be able to make a web service connection. After that, it'll make a proxy class for you. However, as of 2005, things changed. Instead of accessing the report server with just report service, what you do is you access it with report service 2005. Oddly enough, this is also, looking at Microsoft's documentation, the same address you use for 2008 version of web reporting services. Apparently they decided not to change the name of the virtual directory. There's a 2005 and a 2006 virtual directory that you can access. The 2005 is for when you're not using SharePoint. The 2006 is for when you are using SharePoint to host your report server applications. So for our needs, I'll be using report server service 2005. If I click on that, I'll see that there is quite a lot of classes that you can use to get information from. The trick is to include the WSDL command and be able to make a reference to the web service. This page right here, you can see it here at the top that I've gone through and included the report service 2005 ASMX and the address. And I see this link. I will then go ahead and add question WSDL. You can see I'm still getting the breakdown. Same thing. Typically when we connect to a web service, we expect to see a kind of a nicely laid out web page. But then the idea behind the report service website is that it's not really made to be human interactable. So let's see what it looks like when you make a reference from a Visual Studio project. I'll go ahead and make a new Visual Studio project. I'll just use a Windows applications for simplicity's sake. And I'll call it Windows Form Application, or how about Windows to Web Service Demo. Our report server web service demo. Much better. Once I get there, I'll put a spiffy user interface on here by adding a single button and using the click event for the demo. I'll put my code in here where the button click is, but first I need to make a web reference. So I right click on references and say add a web reference. The URL is going to be the same one I just showed you a few seconds ago. fact, I'm too lazy to type it in, so I'll go get a fresh copy. I hit the go button after I type in the WSDL. Looks like it wants a password. I'll notice I'm doing everything by being logged on as administrator just to make life easy. It'll take a few seconds for it to catch up, but eventually I'll come back. Again, although it does say 2005, this is SQL 2008 that I'm demonstrating. It's just an oddity. You would expect it to say 2008, but it does not. There is a 2006, but that's for a SharePoint integration, and I'm not using that either. Well, we're waiting for that to finally make a connection. I'll show you some code that we're going to be using. First of all, once I've made a web reference, I'll go ahead and make a new object up from the proxy class that the web reference is going to generate. I'll be going through and using a command, a method called getReportDefinition, and then dumping the file on the my hard drive. The getReportDefinition is one of the methods that you would see over here. Let's see, I don't see it in this one. GetReportDefinition, where are you? If it's not there, then we'll look at another one here. Oops, must be further down. Let me check my code again. Report definition was right off of Reporting Server 2005, huh? I must be looking right at it and can't see it. Ah. Here we are. Get report definition. It's buried a ways down. Here's an example code that I lifted from Microsoft's website, which goes ahead and shows you how to go ahead and execute this method. I just have modified it for my use. Let's see if our web reference has finally come back. It has. And from in there, the web reference shows get report links, report definition. There we are. That's the method we're going to be calling. So I call this thing, how about reporting server web service? A proxy class will be generated for me, and now I just need to go to Microsoft's website, lift the code that they're showing us a demo on, and we'll just have to make a few changes. First of all, my web service will be report server web service dot report service 2005. Because that's the namespace I ascribed to it. Now it's happy on that. The memory system in the demonstration on the website actually is not fully named. It's actually under system.io.memorystream. So I'll use the 2008 feature of resolving in both places that it needs to be done. And now it's happy. I'll call the get report definition, pass in the report name that I want. Right now I only have one report up on the website, and it's called report 1. So I'll put that in there. When it comes back, I'll end up with a 64-bit byte array. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use the memory stream to store that down on the hard drive. We have an XML document object. We use a load method, pass in the string, and I'll use the save method to save it on the hard drive. Let me call it something else, like how about report1.rdo. Since I put this in a button click event instead of like the main method as shown on the website, I need to change these variables around. But with those changes, I think we're good to go. Let me build it and see if everything looks good. Almost. Looks like SOAP exceptions need to be resolved too. I'll resolve them. Now it seems to be a happy little application, and we'll give it a test. Again, the goal of this application is to access the web service. Let me see if I can get to it. And right now the web service has a report called report 1. Report 1 looks like this. What we're going to do is we're going to call the report server web service and ask to download that report. Then we're going to take that report, save it to the hard drive. So the code says make a reference to the web service. Look for the report called report 1 on the root directory. Go ahead and make an XML document. Go ahead and make a memory stream object. Load the stream into the XML document object. Save the data down to the file called report1.rdl. And if there's any problems, show me an error message. So I'll go ahead and run this. Press the button. It hasn't frozen. And if I go look on the hard drive, report1.rdl is found. The RDL file is just an XML document. But it does look better if it's loaded into a reporting server project. Let me make a new reporting server project and I'll show you. I'll choose New Project from Visual Studio. I'll go Business Intelligence Project. I'll go ahead and make a brand new report server project. It doesn't really matter what it's called. Open Solution Explorer and say I'd like to add an existing item. The existing item, of course, will be that file that we just downloaded via the web service. Reporting service projects have the ability to take the XML code and render it into something that looks pretty, like this. It also has the capability of being able to go through and take the code and build a report on the fly. And then, if you're happy with that report, you can actually save it down to a variety of formats by calling the render method of the web service. when it's not necessarily the web service in this case is built into Visual Studio. But normally when you're accessing the page from the web service, these will also be available, and you can extend on by adding your own renderers. The process of doing that is actually quite a bit of code, so I wouldn't recommend it for the beginners. But this definitely showed that you could take a report server, a client application, connect to the report server web service, and call down, ask to download a report from the web service and save it to the hard drive. Anyway, that's this particular demo. The idea of this was how to access reporting service web service using a C# application or VB application. Hope you get something out of it.